All four suffered from malaria and dysentery, and without help they would likely be dead in 1 month's time. Elsa flipped back to the cover to check the magazine's issue date, and her eyes widened. The magazine was 2 months old. A strange feeling, a kind of numbness, came over her, and she sat on the floor, her knees bent up, supporting the magazine. She turned the page and held her breath as she read. As the tragedy in Rwanda deepens and the death toll continues to rise, world leaders seem paralyzed, unable to act. It is only the valiant efforts of a few doctors and nurses that are making a difference, snatching thousands from death's certain grip. But more relief workers are needed, and the UN has issued an urgent plea for help. Elsa read the words again and then turned the page. A large picture revealed hundreds of women and children standing in what seemed to be an endless line, waiting for their food rations. The women, and even the small children, seemed lifeless as they waited their turn. None of them looked at the camera. It was a photograph of utter despair. Elsa sighed and ran her fingers over the picture. She turned to the next page and found a series of photos, all of corpses, endless rows of babies and children, entire families, lying in the road or in fields, clinging to one another in death. Her hand flew to her mouth, and she closed her eyes. But when she opened them, the bodies were still there. She turned back to the first page and read the story again. She lingered over that first image, the one of the dying mother and her young children. She wondered where they were, if they'd died or somehow been rescued. It was hard to believe that people lived like this. How could she ever complain about her own life again? She paused at a shiny picture of a nurse cradling a baby. The nurse seemed to be crying. The caption explained that the baby was dead and the nurse was looking for his mother. A nurse, she thought, doing something that matters. Elsa closed the magazine, breathing deeply to calm herself, before she glanced at her watch. 4 o'clock. Geez, where did the time go? She quickly gathered her remaining books onto her cart and hurried to the library's front desk. Sorry, Miss James, I lost track of time. She needed this job. She couldn't afford to be fired. I'll finish these tomorrow. The old librarian, fidgeting with her hearing aid, smiled up at Elsa. What, dear? I'll finish tomorrow, Elsa almost shouted. And this, she said, holding out the magazine. Can I keep it? It's 2 months old. You want the magazine? Miss James confirmed. That's fine, dear. Elsa trudged home along the narrow, crowded streets, the magazine stuffed into her backpack. If she hurried, her mother could still get to work on time. Rushing into the house, she pulled the magazine from her bag and showed the pictures to her mother. Oh, God, Elsa, why do you look at that stuff? Jesus, it's awful, her mother said, slipping her arms into her old coat. But, Mom, I was thinking, I could be a nurse, maybe help someday. That's just a wish, don't you think? Nothing good ever came from wishing for things you can't have. Look around, honey. We're in the crummiest 3-decker in the crummiest part of Dorchester. And with Diana getting sicker, I don't see things getting any better. But if we don't wish for more or try for more, things will never change. I've worked 2 jobs since your father died, and every single day I've wished things would be easier. I just don't want you to be disappointed, is all. But Elsa was disappointed. She was always wishing for things she couldn't have. Her friend Annie's wild red hair, a nice house, a real family. There was always something else she wanted. God knows there was a lot to wish for when you lived in Dorchester. Learn to be happy with what you've got, Elsa. There's always someone else who's got it worse. Well, that's just it. These refugees have got it worse. I want to help. Well, you can start with Diana. I fed her, but she needs to be changed and put to bed. I'll see you later. With a quick peck on the cheek, her mother left for work, the second shift at the supermarket where she rang up groceries she could barely afford. Life isn't fair, Elsa thought glumly, but that doesn't mean you just sit back and accept it. She shed her coat and moved toward Diana, who sat awkwardly in an oversized high chair.